Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of THKD TV. It's been about 2 months since I've done a YouTube video, so better late than never, I guess. Had a couple record store excursions I wanted to talk to you guys about, and also a quick anecdote about Record Store Day itself. Not a big long-winded rant or anything about the pros and cons of Record Store Day, anything like that. Just a little personal anecdote I wanted to share with you guys about the one Record Store Day release that I wanted to pick up. So, first record store excursion took place in Denver, Colorado. I was out there for a couple days on a business trip, but I managed to get an evening to myself, so I decided to brave the mass transportation system in Denver, Colorado, which is actually quite good, and I was very impressed with it. But decided to explore the city a little bit and head down to Twist and Shout Records. Very cool store. I was really impressed with it. They had an excellent metal section. Not a lot of used stuff, but a lot of really good new stuff for reasonable prices. I did find one used item, but for the most part I was impressed with how much new stuff they had. Good new stuff that you don't see, at least I don't see around here in California at the shops I frequent. So first thing I picked up was Bong, live at Roadburn, 2010, 2012, 2014. This is a 3 CD box set of all of Bong's Roadburn performances. You guys know I'm not normally big on live albums, but with a band that's as psychedelic as Bong is, it's only going to get freakier in a live setting. And this is a really nicely put together box set. The CDs come in these little mini LP sleeves, and the sound quality is just fantastic. It's pretty bare bones. It's just the CDs and the little sleeves here and then the box, but the sound quality is excellent. I think the presentation, in spite of being very minimalist, is pretty damn cool. It's a nice looking little package here. And if you're not familiar with Bong, this actually might be a pretty good place to start because you get a ton of music for your money. I think this was under $20 for a 3 CD box set, so I think that's pretty good. And like I said, it just looks cool. It sounds great. If you're already into Bong, this is definitely worth getting. If you're not familiar, as I said, I think this might be a good place to start just for the sheer amount of music that you get to sift through with this. It's several hours long because, as I'm sure you know, Bong's songs are quite lengthy. Very cool, droney, psychedelic doom. Definitely worth checking out. If you've never listened to Bong, get on it. Get this box set. Very cool stuff. As I mentioned earlier, they didn't have a ton of used stuff, but I did manage to find one thing. That was Megoptera, The Curse of the Scarecrow. This came out on Release Entertainment. Sorry for that horrible glare, but Release Entertainment, as you guys know, a subsidiary of Relapse Records, that sort of sub-label, if you will, put out a lot of drone and ambient and noise type stuff, and I'm sure you guys have read my blog, know that I'm a big fan of that label. So whenever I see something from that label I don't have, I tend to pick it up. I'm not crazy about everything they put out under the Release banner, but most of the stuff is pretty damn cool, so if I see something I don't have, I grab it. Megoptera was, I guess still existing, a Swedish, death industrial or noise type project. I think if you're into stuff like Brighter Death Now, or maybe even stuff like Lustmord, you'd probably dig this. It's very atmospheric, very foreboding, very eerie sounding, death industrial type stuff. Definitely check these guys out if you haven't. Scandinavia's got a really cool noise and death industrial scene that doesn't get as much press as like the black metal and death metal stuff and what have you over there gets. So again, Megoptera, The Curse of the Scarecrow, definitely check that one out. The other great thing about Twist and Shout was they had a very extensive t-shirt selection, and I could have spent a ton of money there, but I was kind of on a budget. This was kind of a spur of the moment thing. I decided to go out and explore. So I only bought one shirt and then these 2 CD, or the box set and the CD here. But the one shirt I found I think is pretty fucking cool. Like, I've been wanting for the longest time, and I can't believe I never had a Venom shirt that was just kind of, simple And I found this at Twist and Shout. It's got the lyrics on the back, which I'm not super crazy about, but the front design I think is pretty badass and just simple and classic looking Venom. So, super happy to find that. They also had like some Merciful Fate and King Diamond and stuff like that, but I was very stoked to find a Venom shirt because I've been wanting one for a long time. And I had one I bought when I saw them live, but I got too fat for it, so it is what it is. So I've been wanting one ever since I packed on those pounds and couldn't fit into my fucking Venom shirt anymore. But, so that was Twist and Shout. Very cool place. If you're ever in the Denver area, I highly recommend you check that store out. Second excursion was Portland, Oregon. My wife and I went there just kind of for the hell of it. I wanted to check out that part of the country. Neither of us had ever really been up that way. I've always wanted to see the Pacific Northwest, or at least a chunk of it anyway. So, was very excited to check out Portland, and I found out researching, because anytime we go somewhere new, I always research to see what kind of record store situation they've got going on. And it was no surprise to me that Portland had several to choose from. The first store I went to was called Everyday Music, and to be honest, I was not impressed with it at all. And a lot of folks recommended it to me. Sorry guys, if you're one of the ones that recommended Everyday Music to me, I was not impressed with it. Went in there to find that they don't even have a dedicated metal section, which I don't think I've ever been in a record store that did not have a metal section. So that was really unusual. And then I'm walking around and I decided to ask the clerk, do you have a metal section? Because I was like, hey, maybe I'm missing something, it's a big store, whatever. And they were kind of snotty to me about it when I asked them, and they told me, oh, it's just mixed in with the rock. I was like, they were just the tone was not, demeanor of the clerk was not a pleasant one. So I really did consider leaving at that point, but I was like, I'll give it a chance, because sometimes stores that don't care about metal, you find some gems because they just don't give a shit about metal. So it's usually kind of cheap, or you might find something cool for a good price, what have you. But there are a couple things I would have considered possibly buying, but I was just kind of from the get-go kind of soured on the experience of being there. So I left without buying anything from Everyday Music, and I'm afraid I have to give them a big thumbs down. If you're in Portland, I wouldn't really recommend going there. I did find another place to go, though, and that was Second Avenue Records. Very cool store. That is a place I would highly recommend going, especially if you're into metal or punk. It looked like they had a pretty extensive vinyl selection. I'm not really a vinyl guy, but it looked pretty cool to me, and if I were a vinyl guy, and plus I like trying to get vinyl back home on an airplane just seems super sketchy to me, and I think if I spent a bunch of money on vinyl and took it on a plane and came home and unpacked my bag to find it all broken, I'd be pretty fucking upset. So not being a vinyl guy anyway, I don't really even consider it when I'm out of town on like a trip, where unless it's like a road trip, then I might look at the vinyl, but if I'm flying back and forth, I don't even bother with it, because like I said, not a big vinyl guy anyway. But their CD setup was kind of unusual. They have all their CDs in these big boxes behind the counter, and you have to ask to look at them. So it was kind of unusual, but also kind of fun, because the clerk's like stacking all these boxes full of CDs on the counter, and they're in alphabetical order, and then you just kind of get to root through them. So I thought it was kind of fun to do it that way. Very different experience than from what I'm used to going to a record store and looking at the CDs. I only looked at the used stuff. I wasn't really looking for anything new, and to be quite honest, there've only been like a small handful of 2019 releases so far that I've had any desire to purchase. So I stuck with the used stuff and found quite a few little gems in here. First thing I found was Teenage Giallo Grind by Gruesome Stuff Relish, not to be confused with Pickle Relish. But anyway, yeah, Teenage Giallo Grind, Gruesome Stuff Relish. They are a Spanish grindcore band, or gore grind band, and this actually was their first album. Came out on Razorback Records, which back in the day was a very cool label. I haven't really kept up with them, but back in the day they put out a ton of really cool like gore grind and grindcore and stuff like Ghoul, and of course this band Gruesome Stuff Relish and Mashitazo and Coffins, a bunch of cool stuff. But I didn't have this one, and I was super stoked to find it because a lot of these older Razorback releases are pretty hard to find, even used these days. Most of it's out of print. So this has like 30 songs on it, and it's just totally bulldozing grindcore with kind of a guitar tone is kind of remind you of like Swedish death metal stuff, like Old Entombed and Dismember, kind of that HM2 buzzsaw sound. Definitely worth checking out if you're into gross grindcore. This is a good one to get. I love these guys and stoked to finally find this on CD. So again, that's good old Gruesome Stuff Relish. And again, I apologize for the shitty glare. It seems like no matter where I try to film, I get that. So next up, another grindcore album. Circle of Dead Children, Zero Comfort Margin. This is a classic Willowtip Records release that I didn't have and was very stoked to find. These guys have another album called The Genocide Machine that's very cool. That came out on Necropolis Records back in the day. And then also Human Harvest was another album of theirs that's very good. I don't know what happened to my copy of it, but I used to have it and it was super awesome. But yeah, this was one of theirs I never had, and I was super stoked to find. Just totally fucking violent, nasty grindcore with totally sick vocals. If you've never heard these guys, worth checking out for the vocals alone. The vocalist's name escapes me, but is just totally fucking guttural, nasty sounding shit. Total sewer vomit vocals. Definitely check out if you're into that. Again, that's Circle of Dead Children, Zero Comfort Margin. Very cool album. Up next, we have sort of a US black metal classic that I didn't have yet, and that's Wanderings by Shall Become. Classic Moribund Records release, and Moribund's actually based out of the Pacific Northwest, so no surprise to find that stuff when traveling to the Pacific Northwest. But I Shall Become, if you're not familiar, just to give you an idea, this I think this was his first album. It's a one-man project, and it's got Burzum and Judas Iscariot covers as the bonus tracks. That'll give you some idea of what this sounds like if you've never heard I Shall Become. But interestingly enough, I wanted to bring this up. I was thinking about this video beforehand, and I Shall Become is a band that evolved quite a bit, or a project, but it's just one guy, whatever you want to call it. This album, like I said, is kind of a Burzum, Judas Iscariot kind of sound, but then, they really evolved quite a bit. And so I wanted to also, this wasn't something I bought on this trip, it's something I've had for a long time, but wanted to bring up their album Poison. This also came out on Moribund in 2010, and it's almost like, it's like ambient black metal mixed with like soundtrack music. So it's really cool, really innovative use of the symphonic elements of symphonic black metal. There's not another symphonic black metal album that sounds anything like this that I've ever heard anyway. It's very unique, very underrated, and definitely a huge evolutionary step from the early Burzum worshipping type stuff that he did early on. So if you've never heard this, definitely check it out. This is, in my opinion, god tier level US black metal, and it's totally unlike anything you've probably heard from a US black metal band, or really any black metal band that I can think of. Just a very unique take on the style. So definitely grab this. You can find this super cheap at a ton of distros, and usually I've seen it used many times at various shops I've been to. So definitely get a hold of Poison if you've never heard that album. Going back to things I actually bought on this trip, sorry for the little sidebar there, but one of it, it dawned on me I had the opportunity to plug that album, so I thought I'd take advantage of it. Next up, A Lunar Womb by The Obsessed. How I didn't own this, I have no idea. I'm 39 fucking years old and I didn't have Lunar Womb. I love The Obsessed. I love most of the things that Wino has done, with a few exceptions, but I think he's fucking fantastic. He's like a national treasure as far as I'm concerned. His guitar playing is some of the most soulful I've ever heard, and his singing voice, it's like if an old grizzled, like an old wizard sang in a metal band, that's always what I imagined it would sound like, is Scott Weiner's voice. So was very stoked to find a copy of Lunar Womb. If you've never heard it, this is kind of a doom metal classic. You know, it's super old school and just super soulful and super awesome. You know, definitely check that out. It is classic Obsessed, and if you've never heard the Obsessed, this is probably one of the best places to start. I actually bought back in the day a compilation that they put out called Incarnate. That was the first Obsessed thing that I ever bought, and then I bought The Church Within after that. So I kind of was all over the place in my discovery of that band. But whatever the case, check out Lunar Womb. Good place to start for the Obsessed. If you like wino stuff and don't have it, get it. Lastly, it was kind of cool to find, because I usually don't. It's been forever since I've seen any of their stuff in a record store. Sorry, it's kind of hard to see, but Velvet Cocoon, Atropine. This is a 2-disc thing, and it's kind of cool. It's like another little LP-esque kind of sleeve for the 2 CDs. This came out on Full Moon Productions back in the day, and it was either the last release that Full Moon put out, or one of the last ones they put out. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I don't remember their history that well to know. But Velvet Cocoon, if you've never heard them, a lot of their releases are kind of just like ambient, sort of hallucinatory black metal. This particular release, however, is actually all ambient stuff, and I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm told it's pretty damn cool, so I'm excited to check it out. You know, I love listening to, just like chilling and listening to ambient shit, so I'm happy to have found this. It came in this weird little plastic thing. I don't know if that's actually how it came or if they just put it on there. But anyway, whatever the case, very excited to find Velvet Cocoon, especially since they're actually from Portland. It was kind of cool to find that CD in Portland, so very stoked to get that too. Also at Second Avenue Records, they had a fantastic t-shirt selection. I would say even better than the t-shirt selection at Twist and Shout. And I did buy a Sodom Persecution Mania shirt, and then also Dark Funeral Secrets of the Black Arts shirt. 2 that I've wanted for quite a long time, but the quality was good, the price was right. Unfortunately, I have since worn both of them, so they're both in the wash, and I can't show them to you right now because that would be gross to go pull dirty shirts out of the hamper just to show them. Not gonna do that. But anyway, yeah, so those were my 2 record shopping excursions, or CD shopping excursions, if you will. Both highly successful in my book, and found a lot of great stuff, so can't ask for much more than that, right? Definitely a cool experience in both places. If you're ever in Denver, definitely check out Twist and Shout Records. If you're ever in Portland, definitely check out Second Avenue, especially if you're into metal or punk, because they will have you fucking covered and then some. Up next, and last but not least, just wanted to talk a little bit about Record Store Day. I was actually in Portland on Record Store Day, but I did not go to the record store on Record Store Day. I went the Thursday before Record Store Day just because I wanted to avoid all that chaos, you know. I don't know how it gets there, but like, you know, here in Sacramento, people line up and shit, you know, and camp out to get in to buy these special record store releases. And I've done that. I did that one time just for the experience of it, and I'm not really about that. You know, standing outside in line for a couple hours isn't really my bag, and I definitely didn't camp out, but I did stand outside and wait for the store to open. Anyway, there was one specific Record Store Day release I wanted this year, and that was the CD version of Sun's new album, Life Metal. I've been waiting for this to come out forever. I was excited as soon as I found out they were recording with Steve Albini. I just had to check this out and was looking forward to getting it, but at the same time I didn't want to go to a record store on Record Store Day. My theory was that, you know, most people who are into Record Store Day don't give a fuck about CDs that come out on that day. So I was like, hopefully, you know, there's 5 Dimple Records locations. I think 5, or is it just 4 now? Whatever, anyway. There's several Dimple Records locations in Sacramento, and I was hoping one of them would have Sun's new album on CD. I looked at their website, and you can see, you know, if you search on their website, it'll show you what they have. So I searched for it on their website, showed that my local Dimple Records over there in Citrus Heights had it. I go over there, it's nowhere to be fucking found, even though it says on their website that they've got it in stock. So I asked the clerk. He looks around in all the places that I'd already looked for it, can't find it. Then he starts to kind of like he's going to go to the back and look. Then he comes back to me and says, oh, it's a record store day release. It says we have it in stock, but we can't find them. What? And then on top of that, he says to me, well, it's a record store day special release, so I can't actually look for it until Monday. What the fuck? What the fuck? I went there the Sunday after Record Store Day when I got back into Sacramento from Portland. It was the day after Record Store Day. Record Store Day was over. The store was fucking dead. And you mean to tell me it makes a difference if it's one day after Record Store Day or 2 fucking days after Record Store Day? It's like, Jesus Christ, man. You obviously didn't sell any of these. I'm here to give you a guaranteed sale. I've spent so much fucking money at that store, and they're not gonna go look for it for me. I was like, unfucking believable. So I didn't raise, I was pissed off, but I didn't raise a stink or anything. I just left because whatever, 99% of the time Dimple is fucking awesome, but like 1% of the time they do some fucking ridiculous shit that irritates the fuck out of me. For somebody that spends so much money there, it's just like, give me a break, man. That's terrible customer service in my opinion, and I know it's not the clerk's fault, but whoever's made that policy, it's definitely their fault, because I would have gladly spent the $15 there or whatever it was. Guaranteed sale. But anyway, I see that I go back, I'm out in the parking lot, and I go back on their website and see that several other stores have it. So I call the next closest one, which is in Roseville, and the clerk tells me, oh yeah, we've got them. I go, I'm on the phone with him, I go, are you sure you have this thing? And he goes, yeah, I saw it this morning. And then he goes into a whole spiel about how he can't look at it or look for them or whatever, or hold them or anything, because it's fucking Record Store Day release and they can't do anything until Monday. Again, what the fuck difference does it make if it's one day after or 2? I don't know. Is that a Record Store Day rule, or is that like just a store rule? Because I don't know. Whatever the fuck it is, it's bullshit, man. By the time Record Store Day is over, everybody who's gonna buy stuff, who's been in there looking for stuff and is gonna buy stuff, has fucking cleared out. I went to the one, so. Anyway, whatever. I'm getting flustered, but I drive the 15 more minutes over to Roseville location, and sure enough, there they have the fucking CDs sitting there in the Record Store Day display where they fucking should be, and I, plunked down my money for the damn thing, and I was happy to get this. I'm not going to talk about it too much because this is probably going to be its own review, either a written review or a video. I haven't decided yet, but suffice to say, it's Sun, one of my favorite bands. A lot of people I know are not so crazy about them, but I think they're fucking fantastic, and this is probably one of their best albums. If you're not into Sun, this might be the one to change your mind. I don't know. Hard to say, but because I've always been a fan, but whatever the case, the one Record Store Day release I wanted, I got. I've been fairly lucky in that respect, but I'm not really a fan of the whole Record Store Day thing. For me, every day is Record Store Day, but I've been lucky to get the things I wanted most of the time. So, thank you, Dimple Records Roseville, for having this and for actually wanting to sell it to me, unlike the store in Citrus Heights. Anyway, guys, that's the end of this video. You want to talk about Record Store Day, you want to talk about cool record stores you've been to in other states, hit me up in the comments. I'm always happy to read you guys' stuff and respond to it. If you like this video, hit the little thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit all the fucking buttons on there. I don't know what this shit does for me, but at least then I'll know people are watching it and enjoying it. But again, until next time, thanks for watching another episode of THKD, and take care, guys. Bye.